Here we are, and welcome to a jam-packed, movie review-filled episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. We're getting back to our roots. We're going to talk about movies, and we're going to talk about lots of stuff like that. But I think we need to tell... which one of us is most qualified to tell the story of Mom's challah from the other night? Did you all get this picture?
I've done that before, so maybe.
Did you all get this picture?
I had my own baking disaster as well.
So maybe Becky told
Okay, so Shai, do you understand how bread is made?
No.
It's a multi-step process.
I mean, what I do understand is sometimes when Allie's making challah, I get a text that says, at this exact time, go do one very specific thing. Like, go take things out of the oven. But, like, that's all I do.
When you're making bread, you have to let it rise, usually a couple of times. It's called proofing. And
why do they call it rising?
I don't know. I'm not, like, on the Great British Baking Show, okay? These are just things words I know. I don't know how they came into existence, okay? It's not an origin story show, okay? So... Oftentimes, and you need it to be a nice, like, warm, cozy temperature for it to rise. So oftentimes what people will do is they'll actually put the raw dough that's rising in their oven, either with the oven off or at, like, the lowest temperature or just with the oven light on, just to make it, like, a little cozy. Very typical. Ovens even have a setting that will say proof, and you can set, like, the proof button, and it will create that, like, cozy, warm environment.
Proof you have bread?
Proof you have bread.
Proof of yeast.
So
every time Becky says cozy, though, I feel like I should have a sweater on and some mittens.
You just want like some bread with, like, toasted bread with some margarine or butter on it.
Oh, yeah,
some nice. Yeah. Okay. So Mom is preparing her own challah for Yom Kippur, right? She's, like, getting it ready, and she's preparing her meal, her special, like, pre-Yom Kippur fast meal, and she's going to make a beautiful round challah, and she prepares the challah. It's the raw dough, and she puts it in the oven to proof, and then she goes on, and I bet she makes her chicken, and she makes the potatoes, and then she goes, I want to have a nice dessert. I'm going to make a cobbler. So what do you do when you make a cobbler?
Because she has two ovens. This is an important fact.
You have to preheat the oven.
Right, so but she's doing the potatoes and everything else in a separate oven, because she's got a steam oven and a regular oven.
So she preheats the oven. And then she goes to put her cobbler in, and she opens the door, and the challah that has been proofing is now raw on top and burnt through like volcanic rock on the bottom. So she baked her proofed dough, and it's also, like, not in a shape. It's just like a dome ball of dough. But it was very funny because
in, like, a metal round dish.
In, like, a dish, like, not on a baking tray or in a mold. It was just like a bowl.
It was like a muffin, yeah. Because Mom likes to do it in the circular thing that you open up. She likes to, like, instead of braiding around, pan. Right, in a springform pan. So it's just forced to be round because of the dish
I've
that
done
it's
that
in.
a bunch too. So what I thought was particularly adorable was the photo of this mishap, but then the way she salvaged it is that she just sprinkled some sesame seeds on top to, like, cover up what it looked like.
Her burnt.
I bet Dad loved it. Dad loves burnt stuff. Do you know that I have an entire box of, like, whatever pretzels there's a burned flavor, I guess? And Dad
I got Allie turned on to those. It's like a burnt, extra hard, super salty pretzel where you, like, could break a tooth, so you're not sure. You're like, am I chewing pretzel? Am I chewing
Shai
tooth?
loves breaking a tooth.
I was very lucky for Yom Kippur because I got to have Becky's cooking, like, all around all around the holidays.
You know what makes me not want to fast?
Like Rosh Hashanah.
You know what makes me not want to fast?
I was making desserts. Because I was being invited to other people's homes for most of these meals. I was really on dessert duty. So there was a lot of galettes, some chocolate banana bread.
You know what makes me not want to fast is Becky's cooking.
Oh.
Makes me not.
Well, Becky's...
For the record, I just want to say I still think it counts as fasting if you're very hungry by the time break fast arrives.
So who was I don't remember who I was talking to.
Like, if you had, like, a nibble in the morning, but you're absolutely starved by the end of the day, to me it's
I was talking to a friend, and he was like, the best way to fast is between meals. I thought that was a pretty funny one.
Becky did one of the all-time funniest things I've ever seen anyone do. with a dessert because Becky made this like unbelievable banana chocolate swirl bread. That
I didn't eat enough before I came to this episode. So
that she brought to my sister-in-law's house. And now I knew that like the secret that Becky had told me. So we're at the table with my in-laws and
it was really good.
And everyone's and this beautifully plated like individual slices of this banana bread. It almost looked like a flower with fruit everywhere.
Yeah, and it was like fruit and like berries in the center.
I really loudly said, Becky, how did you decide to plate it this way? It looks so beautiful. I've never seen a banana bread presented this way. And I had planned to just sort of like egg Becky on for a while. And then she's like, fine, I admit it. She tells everybody at the table, she says, I made this banana bread, but I wanted a bite before. So I ate a little bit. And then I had to figure out how to serve it and make it not look like I ate some. So I sliced it up.
So normally you would just bring like a loaf of banana bread, but I definitely ate the end off of it and then was like, shit, I can't drink.
But it was a huge hit.
It was huge. It's from, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, it is the marbled banana bread from Smitten Kitchen. It's not an original recipe. I did a Smitten Kitchen one, and it was. So
like you just like you were like, fuck you, honey bread, fuck you, honey cake. You were like, I'm not doing a honey cake. But that's tradition.
Unless you are served in a cardboard sheet pan in the basement of a Hampton house.
Yeah, in Montreal. Where you have to scrape it off with a knife, right?
No, but the truth is, I bought a grocery store, like a Whole Foods, whatever, honey cake, and it was fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted from a honey cake. I don't need to mess with that mishigas anymore of trying to make a honey cake. They just don't come out good unless they come from a weird factory. There's like
I just want a surprise appearance.
Oh, yeah. Jose in his AEW
tank top. Okay. And just he wears it only in the house, Shai, but he does wear your gift.
Okay. So while I haven't been baking, I have been watching some pretty good stuff. And I would really love to. I don't want to do any spoilers.
Now I want that banana. Like I should not have come hungry.
I'll make you one.
There's going to be a bumper at the beginning of this episode. Don't listen hungry. Send me the recipe.
I'll bring you some.
Just thinking of her galettes
over the summer. I was preparing my kids. We watched the original first Karate Kid, Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi. Then we watched the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan.
Which I watched with my kids this weekend. I'm catching up. I'm a little behind you.
Karate Kid that's called, but that's
it's just called like Kung Karate Kid because it's word for word the same movie.
Karate Kid, all in preparation for Karate Kid Legends, which we didn't get to see in theaters over the summer, but we finally watched at home this weekend. I'm not going to do any spoilers because I know you two haven't seen it. I will say, absolutely enjoyed it. We ended up watching it twice over the weekend because we had so much fun with it. They really shake things up. They really shake it up.
They're doing Krav Maga.
I think that's the name of the kid that plays the lead. I love this kid. He was in another show called American Born Chinese. I think he's so fabulous. He's such a great choice for the lead of this movie. He's so good. So I'm going to say, we enjoyed it. All right. However, my theory behind this movie, and you guys will see this you'll tell me if you agree with this theory when you watch it, is that I feel like, they're at Netflix, they're taking pitches for another Karate Kid reboot, right? Because the TV show is coming to an end. They want to do a capstone thing or maybe reboot the series. So they're going to do another movie. And how it works is that different directors, writers will come in and they'll give their pitch until someone hits on the right one. And I kind of feel like whoever was in charge of making the decision was like, oof, I really like pitch A, but I also love pitch B. I don't know what to do about this. Okay, what if I take the first half of one script and then the second half of the other script and you just put them together 50-50 and you still got a movie. Because I will say, you are fully for 45 minutes, you are watching one story and you are super invested in it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess we're watching a completely different story with new characters.
Wow.
So it's.
I bet for the kids that's super fun. They're not, because kids with movies don't sit around being like. They're not waiting for Chekhov's gun. They're like, "Ooh, more story."
Right. They're not like they bummed by plot holes.
Because whoever this exec was like, "Ugh, the whole like resolution and explanation and third act of this first movie that you pitched me, it's so boring." And the whole first 2 acts of this other movie that you pitched me, I mean, like, really, who cares? Let's take the third act from this second pitch, because that one's really fun and exciting.
I feel like that's an accurate depiction of how movies are made sometimes.
We'll just make it the ending of this other movie.
So, I do have some questions.
It's a bit odd, but it was fun.
Without spoilers, because it's interesting. You watched, so you left out Karate Kid Part 2 and 3.
We watched Part 2. No. We did watch Part 2, or at least most of it. And then the truth is, like, for the thread of Legends, you really just need the very first Karate Kid and Jackie Chan one. Those are the 2 you need to have watched for.
The best
Does
is that
this movie recognize Cobra Kai, though? Right? Like, is there a Cobra Kai? But does it exist in
Johnny
the world?
In it?
Well, don't ruin that. I just want to know. I just want to know if does it exist in a world where, like, whatever happened in Cobra Kai has happened?
In the show of Cobra Kai, yes.
Okay, so that is all canon. So this is all. This isn't a multiverse.
100%. But the reason I'm saying is that I think of, like, that movie, they only use the third act of it, is because, like, it clearly exists in the world. Like, when Daniel, becomes a part of the story, him as adult Daniel LaRusso in California, like, you are with him now. But I feel like in that movie pitch, which the first 2/3 of that movie are not in Legends, I feel like there must have been more of that backstory.
But isn't that just a TV show?
We've seen Cobra Kai, it's fine. We don't need it.
Isn't that just a TV show? You don't need it.
But there is a nice button at the end of the movie, because everybody needs an after credit scene that is very, like, specifically lives in the canon of the Cobra Kai TV show.
And I noticed 100%. In the cast list, Sadie Stanley, who played Bria B on The Goldbergs, is in it. She plays someone named Mia Limpani.
Yeah, she's the alley of it, or whatever, the love interest.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay,
yeah.
So was she good in it?
She was great. Like, there's no, like, I don't have notes. Like, there's no notes. Like, she was fine. She was great, but she's not the
you don't walk away like you did with this kid Ben Wang, where you were like, this kid is amazing.
Ben Wang is the star, the anchor, the most important. Like,
okay, so
he shines in the movie, rate, and everybody else is,
I don't know if you can do this, but can you rate the Karate Kids? Daniel,
no,
Dre,
I think it's
Daniel, Dre, and this kid. I mean, and let's throw in Hilary Swank. Like, I don't know, she's a Karate Kid.
I haven't seen that one in so long.
So all of the cinematic Karate Kids, not like the ones from Cobra Kai.
The cinematic
no. I mean the original.
Like people who are in a movie.
Movies where Karate Kids is in the title.
Do you mean the whole movie, or just mean the actual Karate Kids?
I mean,
and are we rating them on their karate abilities or them as characters?
Well, definitely not their karate abilities.
Well, no, if you're rating them on their karate abilities, like Ben Wing is like a real martial artist. Like his
no, that's what I'm saying.
His characters are incredible. And from what I read, he actually really did the majority of the stunts. And Jackie Chan, very much, as they put it, encouraged him to do his own stunts and not use rigs. So there's like a couple of moves that are obviously so cinematic and unrealistic that he must have been on wires for. But there's also a lot of other stuff that he clearly like just had to do, because Jackie Chan's like, I'm not doing a scene with you if you're not doing it for real.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, which kid? So rank the Karate Kids. Whether it's like story, I mean, you pick your reason for. You don't have to tell us why. Pick your reason of
rank. Like, I'm not saying the person, like the actor who plays like, I don't mean Jaden Smith, the guy. Yeah. I mean just like the character.
Which
Dre,
of the Karate Kids?
Right, Dre versus Daniel LaRusso versus what's Ben's name?
Li Fong. It looks like based on the.
Okay, I think the truth is Daniel is always going to be the best because he is the original. I think like there's I think in Daniel's story there's emotional stakes there that haven't really been replicated in the other ones. It's
like his mom's car.
He's a real outsider. He's a real fish out of water, right? He's a real kid.
Well, Dre's a fish out of water. That guy has to have Chinese food for breakfast. Like that scene, I felt so bad.
Fine,
he
but
just wants a cereal.
But
it's really hard.
But he's still like from New York and got his attitude. Like he's fine.
He's from Detroit.
Also fine.
Oh, but anyways,
okay, whatever.
I feel like moving from Jersey to California is not as drastic or traumatic as Detroit.
In the 80s?
Okay, I think in the
from Detroit
I think if you
Beijing,
go back and you watch
like a lot
the emotional stakes and the emotional arc of Daniel, and I think for him, like what learning karate does for him, for his self-esteem, and how important that is for him to like really find out who he is. He's also older than the Jaden Smith character, and there's something about him being like 16 years old.
Lee and Legends, because you have 16,
he's also
you have 12.
Supposed to be like 16. I think he's also like more
I know that
16, 17.
So that's one of the things that makes the Beijing Karate Kid, because it has the same name in the movies, the Jackie Chan Karate Kid stand apart, I find, because
he's so young.
Obviously Will Smith wanted his son to be in the movie. His son was 12. There's not much you can do
he's
about
amazing
that.
in it, but there's something different with
and it makes it cute for little kids, because my kids, like it, but my kids like the LaRusso one better.
Right,
Asher,
I think
it's the same movie word for word. The same scenes are happening, and Asher's like, I don't understand this movie.
But since I've seen all three and I'm answering, I would say, I'm just saying, I keep trying to answer you.
Sorry, I forgot. It's your podcast. Go ahead.
It's my podcast about Karate Kid Legends. We can do your podcast next week. I'm sorry. No, I agree with you.
Go ahead.
But Lily, good point. I completely agree with you. It makes it cute and fun for the kids, but there's something about him being 15, and there's a certain, I think, growth, really figuring out who you are, self-esteem thing. Whereas with Ben, with Ben Wang, with the Li Fong character in this one, I don't want to give spoilers, but they sort of... I think in the writing, they create emotional stakes that are technically higher, but as far as writing goes, much lazier. And I think what you have to do in that very first one of it really just being about a kid finding himself, building his self-esteem, feeling confident, those things are actually really, really hard to do. Whereas in the new one, they're like, oh, we're going to create this really sad backstory, and then he has to overcome that. But
that is an interesting point. If you look at especially a lot of 80s movies, right? The anxiety and the stakes that the kids are dealing with is literally am I going to fit in? Am I going to get a girlfriend?
Yeah.
It's not more complicated than that.
Or am I going to win
am
I going to win the competition?
Right.
It's
am I going to win the right? And I'd say in the new one, which is very typical of movies now, is they make the stakes so high that you're
right,
takes away from the character's growth and journey. If you actually make the stakes a little bit more realistic and contained, you can put a lot of pressure on that.
It's every Marvel movie has to have an extinction level event where New York gets destroyed.
Correct.
When you're if people were just robbing a bank,
and maybe they felt they needed to do that because the character is coming in already essentially a quadruple black belt or something. He's already he's been trained by Jackie Chan, by Han, his entire life. He's not learning martial arts. He is already basically...
And then he's
so it's the first
thank
time
goodness this car salesman from the United States is here to teach me.
Yeah.
Which is
completely different. I'm sorry. A completely different martial art.
No,
from
it is.
a completely different country.
So that is relevant. That's a very good catch. See, only someone with a martial arts gym would catch that.
No, other people know that karate and kung fu are not the same thing.
That's relevant. Well, no, but that's relevant to the story. He knows kung fu, but he has to enter a karate tournament.
So he has to call Daniel's son because only Daniel's son
But guys, I need
does
you
it
to
take
watch
place
this
in China?
because
I can't wait.
No, it takes place in New York. I need you to watch this because
in
also, like I said, the first 45 minutes are a different movie. They are not what we are discussing right now.
But if I recall, the karate...
And when you see who... Hold on. When you see who is the actual, like, main supporting character in the first movie that's in this movie, you will be like, what the fuck is going on here?
So... the character, the thing is that if I recall, the first Jackie Chan Karate Kid doesn't have karate in it. They're just doing
Kung Fu.
It's Kung Fu.
It's Kung Fu.
It's not
no
karate. It's Kung Fu.
They should have called it Kung Fu Kid.
They could have called it the Kung Fu Kid.
The Kung Fu Kid,
because they don't do karate in it.
They don't.
They were just like, this is a brand.
And then they
give
a backstory of how Kung Fu and karate, these Kung Fu and karates are connected.
Which is somewhat like one evolved from the other, but in a way, but the Jade, had I not seen them back to back, I would not have noticed as much how they use so many word for word, like the script of Jackie Chan Karate Kid is the same as the original. Like, at that point, just, like, the next Karate Kid it. Like, make it a little, like, tweak it a little bit more.
So this one, I will say, delivers on that ask that you have, which is that, like okay, give me a different story now. Do something different with this character. And so, again, while the first 45 minutes are truly a different movie, it is a very different Karate Kid movie. What I enjoyed about it, because I was like, all right, you showed me something fresh. You gave me a different take. There was a different thing. That's why I'm convinced this movie is an amalgamation of two completely different pitches that somebody, like, ripped like, I can imagine them taking, like the little brads off of the script and, like, ripping out the first 45 pages of one and the 45 pages and then sticking them together and clipping them and then handing it over to the first AD being like, all right, give me a schedule.
This is why, as a kid, I loved Karate Kid Part 2, because it's so incredibly different than Karate Kid Part 1.
Yeah. So very different. But either way, I would say the MVP of the movie, the anchor of it, what makes it so watchable, what makes you want to watch it again, is the main character that this kid Ben Wang.
That's awesome.
God, did anyone double check that I actually said the correct name?
Yeah. I would have corrected
him.
I have it.
He's great.
So, Lily, do you have something that you want to report on? If not, I have a fairly big movie to report on.
I can go last.
Okay. So I went with Allie on Friday night to go see One Battle After Another.
Right.
Which
by the great
person after person on Instagram has been giving 5 stars as the most important movie of our generation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So seeing these reviews and some reviews from people that I respect, not just reviewers or Rotten Tomatoes, but like people who I'm like, oh, I like your taste in movies. You really love this movie. We were like, kids, you got to come with us to go see this movie. Let's do it. Friday night movie. You're old enough to see things that are a little more mature. You know, if this is so insightful about society. And the kids were just pleading with us. They're like, anything but going to the movies tonight and anything but us going to see a 2.5+ hour movie about like Civil War and revolution. And we said, well, fine. Let's look at Common Sense Media, which I think is actually a pretty useful website because it's very honest about what things. And so we look at the little review on Common Sense Media.
I think you were at my house.
And the first thing that it says is that this movie contains sexual nudity and sexual humiliation. And
oh, that's very specific.
Yeah. And so like the two kids look at us and they're like, you are not, don't worry, I'll tell you in a second. So we are not going to see this movie. And now, by the way, that is becoming a running bit because every time we want to watch something, my kids are like, if this has sexual humiliation in it, we're not watching it. So,
like that's so specific.
Yeah, it's very specific in the movie. And so we gave in, okay, fine. So we go to see the movie. We go to, and there is, of course, 30 minutes of previews or something beforehand, right? So this is starting at, we were not out till midnight. First of all, the previews before this movie were all horrifying. Like, my kids would have needed therapy. It was 28 years later.
Your kids did not go.
They did not go. So we're just in the previews, which a lot of the times my kids don't even watch.
I'm dying to know what they were watching instead.
I think they just stayed home and watched like TV shows that they like. We just let them off. We watched. I kept trying to get them to watch basketball with the South Park guys because we've been watching a lot of South Park together. They refused. So
I remember that being pretty good.
So first of all of the previews were for the most bleak. 28 years later, the Bone Eaters or whatever it's called. This is. Did you know that they made 28 years later movies like within a year of each other? Like there was whatever
what do you mean? There's the Danny Boyle one.
There's one that Danny Boyle made, and then there's this other one that was just like Ralph Fiennes sitting in a pile of bodies.
What?
And people
is that
just
part of
murdering,
eating
each other with scabs all over their bodies.
Is that
I think that's a different zombie
No,
movie.
it's part of the franchise. It's like they like doubled up on the franchise with another movie. So there was that. There was just everything was. There was Black Phone 2, where the commercial of that is.
Oh my God!
I don't need to see Black Phone.
Don't see Black Phone 1.
Well, Black Phone 2 looks terrifying and also a ripoff of Nightmare on Elm Street.
We won't sleep again if you see Black Phone 1.
So already we're like looking at each other being like, well, at least there was no sexual humiliation in these previews. So the movie starts, and very early on into the movie, the Tiana Taylor's character, who's the main, the mother.
His wife, right?
The wife and and she's like the main revolutionary, the real like committed revolutionary. She ends up. This is, I guess, a little bit of a spoiler, but I feel like this is the sexual humiliation part. She ends up walking.
If anything, it's a warning. I feel like it's okay to share
in on Sean Penn's character, like sleeping, like he's like a guard or a cop or something, and she's sleeping. And rather than either shoot him or tie him up or whatever, she like belittles him. I don't know. She's just more like belittles him sexually for like a few minutes, and then they also have like insane sexual tension with each other. Anyways, so it was like
I'm literally, in case you don't use this video, I'm literally scratching my head.
Okay, we're like, so we look at each other.
Or do you have lice?
Or I have lice.
Or
either one. I'm confused.
We dodged a bullet. Okay. So then we get through this movie, and the process of watching through this movie, I like hated the experience of watching this movie.
He was actually texting during the movie about how miserable he was.
I curled up in a ball next to
You
Allie.
didn't even enjoy watching Leo? Like,
hold on
be amazing?
Hold on. I went through a whole journey with this movie. But during watching the movie, like an hour in, I just was like, oh my God, there's an hour and a half left. And I kept curling up in the ball, trying to fall asleep so that I could time travel through it.
Something's not correct, because if you felt that strongly, then your wife would, and you'd leave, like you did with Poor Things.
No. It wasn't like Poor Things. I was thinking about Poor Things while I'm watching this movie, and that movie,
because I feel like this sounds worse, because I saw Poor Things and it wasn't that bad. I liked it. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It was weird.
This movie wasn't.
Out of that
this movie wasn't about grown men sleeping with underage girls and like it being glorified. The way Poor Things is. That's the entire plot of Poor Things.
It only has sexual humiliation. But
in fairness, it's Tiana Taylor sexually humiliating Sean Penn.
Okay.
Right? Who looks exactly like Sean Penn in the Charlie Sheen documentary. Just to be specific, it's that version of Sean Penn.
He must have been filming.
Leathery, skinny.
Must have been filming.
So during the movie, I'm like, I can't believe this is still going on. Why is this going on? I don't like it. I'm not sure I don't even like the message. I don't get it. I don't like these characters. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'm really harping on it. And then we have a conversation about it afterwards, and I started thinking about it a lot, and I was like, the score was really good in that movie. It was like piece by piece. I was like, the score was really good in that movie. Who did it? Johnny Greenwood from Green Day. Okay, so already I'm like, that's pretty cool.
No, it's not Green Day, from Radiohead.
Not Green Day, from Radiohead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. And the score really stands out. I can't say it's always congruent, but it's like noticeably interesting, which is very cool. And then I'm like, well, Sean Penn was like Oscar worthy in that movie. Like he's like Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List good. Like that's how good he is. Like, and I can't stand Sean Penn as a human, right? And I'm watching this being like, he really is.
I feel like that's a bit extreme.
Like his person, if you read about enough of him as a person,
I guess.
Like he's, I don't really. He seems like a maniac.
I try not to spend too much time.
But I'm saying, like,
breaking the fourth wall.
I'm very turned off by him as a person, and he's like amazing.
He seems like a good friend.
He's.
You watch that Charlie Sheen documentary.
Someone you could count on to
do your documentary, to
testify for you.
He's amazing in the movie, and like again, like Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List, like Oscar-worthy performance of someone so despicable.
Yeah.
And I think at times they find a way to still make him pathetic enough that you feel bad for him a couple of times. Okay, all right. I'm like, oh, he's pretty good in it, and Benicio del Toro, like more dialogue than he usually has in a movie, so you get to see him really talk. He's his like quirky, weird self, but he was a much more straightforward character than normal. Okay. And then I'm like, and the girl, the young woman who is like, this is her first big.
Oh yeah. She looks like she's great.
God, she plays the kid, and now if someone can find me the name, that would be amazing.
Infinity.
Well, anyways, she's like incredible. Like Alana Chaim, you can see her in this movie. Like at one point, there's like a long shot, and I'm like, that looks like there's a Chaim in this movie, and there is, and you can see her from a mile away. Like she's in this movie, and she was nominated for an Oscar for Licorice Pizza, which is a stretch on many levels, right? This young woman, if Alana Chaim was nominated for an Oscar for that movie, young woman, Chase Infinity, she should get 2 Oscars for this movie. She's incredible in this movie. Okay. So she's amazing. And then I'm like, and Leo in this sort of like fat loser phase that he's in, I feel like he's sort of transitioning into Jack Nicholson. Like, how Jack Nicholson... how Jack Nicholson, like young Jack Nicholson, was like
can't wait to see his like OCD movie now.
Angular features, and then like old Jack Nicholson. Yet somehow he's like incredibly attractive and an even better actor.
He's always Jack Nicholson.
And Leo is, I'm like, now that I think about Leo's character, he's pretty. Like, because for a lot of the movie, I feel like this movie is about extreme left-wing radicals and extreme right-wing people, and like, I'm like, it doesn't really showing much in between. And then I'm like, well, Leo's character, he's actually just sort of along for the ride, and his priority is his kids, and he's a little bit hapless. He's just trying to do his best, and he's overwhelmed, and it's actually a really interesting character for Leo because he's this like kind of fat slob, and then so the more and more I think of this movie, that during it I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this movie. I got out of it afterwards, and I was like, damn, it looked beautiful. Also, I'm like, well, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Music.
I liked the music. The actors were great. I guess ultimately, I didn't love some of the characters, but even as a narrative, it's a much more straightforward narrative than how Paul Thomas Anderson's movies sometimes have like a side quest in the middle. Like in Boogie Nights when they go to Alfred Molina's house.
Yeah.
This one doesn't really have that. This one's a really through and through movie. So I sort of like revised my initial reaction, and I was like, no, that's a cool movie. It's a cool movie. It's just intense, and I'm not sure the message at the end was a little confusing to me, and maybe I don't align with it, and maybe that's it. But worth seeing. It was a journey. It was a journey for me to experience, and I think about it a lot. And it's definitely a movie that's worth talking about a lot. So, thumbs up for Paul Thomas Anderson. Thumbs up for everybody in the movie. And Johnny Greenwood, the score, again, that's another one. How about nominating him for an Oscar? Because that was one of the things that was a real standout for me. So, Lily, how about you?
So, we finished Black Rabbit yesterday. And the other friends that had seen it were like,
Jason
oh my
Bateman.
God.
You love an anxious Jason Bateman.
I mean, like, I'm a sucker for an anxious
It's a genre
Jason
now.
Bateman.
It is. It's a legitimate genre now.
Jason Bateman, anxious crime.
And like bad guy Jason Bateman, because in Ozark, he is by no means the good guy. Like,
correct.
You're rooting. He it's not like a full Heisenberg in Breaking Bad where he becomes
Heisenberg. No, Heidelberg is the bakery that we go to here.
Heisenberg is the scientist that he names himself after.
It's a good bakery. Recommend it if you're in the area.
And so, that arc is more extreme, I would say, than Bateman and Ozark. But he does so well the like clearly making the selfish bad decision, but yet somehow you like him. Like somehow, and I would say that the Ozark characters gets very dark and is very selfish, but ultimately he has the excuse of like doing it for his family. This character takes it one step further. I literally was like, wow, I don't think Shai can watch this because there is actually no redeeming qualities to him.
I do have a hard time when there's no redeeming qualities for a character.
There's really no redeeming and I was thinking about this the whole show. It's 8 episodes. And I'm like, how are they building an entire show around a Bateman with no redeeming qualities? He is the absolute like fuck up, the Adam Sandler type in like Uncut Gems, who just like it's like one thing after another.
I mean, that's a great movie too, but
it's a great movie.
Can't watch it again.
No, and this show is definitely like stressful. But it's just like it's one fuck up after another, and there is no redeeming quality. Whereas Jude Law, and again, like there is this. The show to me was worth watching. There's a scene between the two of them in the last episode, and you're just like, these are actors. You're like,
well,
damn,
that's good for him to be that. I mean, Jude Law
is like,
but like putting him with Jude Law is pretty exciting to see.
He went toe to toe, and I would have to say, like, this sounds so nerdy, but like Jude Law's has to have like elevated. I mean, because Jude Law's, I think, arguably more well-rounded, like famous, better actor in terms of like his range. He played the Pope, didn't he?
Yeah. But Jude Law's an Oscar-nominated actor, I'm pretty sure.
From rom-coms to popes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Bateman's amazing, but Bateman's great. But, I think that he would even acknowledge that Jude Law is like Jude Law.
It's a big deal.
And they went toe-to-toe, and I think it was beautiful. And I think what's amazing about the show is that it's not so much about, and this is like my hot take, Bateman is not redeeming. Jude Law is a little bit teensy bit more, because he has like higher stakes. He has much higher stakes. So he's got a lot of moving parts, and he's more of like trying to take out one jellyfish and 3 pop up. And it's he didn't ask for the situation. He does some morally questionable things that it's a nice debate to have. But I was like, how are we selling this on if one of the main guys you don't think is good ever at all? And it's because that's not the character. It's the brothers. It's like their relationship. These two brothers, it's so well done how they do. I don't know if either one of them has a brother. I don't think Bateman does. He has a sister, right?
He has Justine.
I don't know if he has a brother, though. I don't know if Jude Law has a brother. I don't know. But like, I'm sitting there watching it with my husband who has a younger brother, and they had a tough childhood. And I'm like watching, and it's a really. I just thought it was a really cool arc. The arc of the brothers, and how it like your brother is someone that you probably would never ever give up on, right? Like a brother or sister, but like no matter what they do, and it just shows like your weakness for your sibling is there always, no matter how tough you are. And again, Troy Katzer, who plays the mafioso, incredible. Like I thought he was phenomenal. And I will say that like episode maybe 6, like 5, 6 is like maybe watch it on 1.5. Like it gets a little. There's a love story that I'm like they could have just cut that out. Like I didn't need it at all. It's not. I don't find it relevant or remotely for the show. But the last 2 episodes I thought were excellent. It's a very stressful show, though. So I think you have to kind of be in the mood for, like, that sort of New York gambling, owing money, getting the thing to pay the other one to survive the other thing, so you can, that whole.
Ugh, that gives me a lot of anxiety.
But they were great. I would be shocked if someone's not nominated.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's great.
It was a cool thing to watch. It's not like my favorite thing. It's like no Severance, I'll say. Like we go from like, I don't know what's the worst show we've Cobra Kai to Severance.
One of the
right in the middle.
One of the shows I'm excited to see that I keep seeing ad for is The Lowdown, Sterling Harjo's new show with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
But I need to be in the right mindset, because if it's Sterling Harjo, it's going to be so high quality that I need to be like emotionally plugged in to be able to see it.
There's a bunch of really good shows coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. Well, stay tuned at the end of this episode, because I have a bonus interview to share. I interviewed Roxanne Messina Captor, a huge force in Hollywood for a long time. She's a producer of a couple of films that are going to be at the Newport Beach Film Festival, which is, by the way, where Floaters will be as well. And she was mentored by both Gene Kelly and Francis Ford Coppola. So we talk a little bit about that as well. So after the end of this conversation, tune into that. It's a lot of fun. And otherwise, love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. We have a giant in the film world and entertainment world with us today, the great Roxanne Messina Captor, who is, among many things, a producer, a triple threat on the stage, and also the chair of the California Arts Council. But most importantly, or I'm most excited about, she is a fellow filmmaker with not one but two films in the Newport Beach Film Festival, Dickens of a Christmas, and a wonderful film about jazz musician Stanley Clarke. Roxanne, it is a pleasure to have you here on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's nice to be interviewed by a fellow filmmaker. So
I think there's a bond. Exactly, there's a bond. The small miracles of making movies. Now,
exactly, small miracles.
There's so many of your projects I want to talk about, but one thing you did let me know is that you started as a child performer, and I would love to know about those early days, and if you could imagine then, when you were, getting ready for the stage, that, you would be in the situation that you are today.
I always loved performing, loved it, and actually we were talking about being shy, and I was a shy child. No one would believe it today, but I was. And that was what was attractive for me as a child, to be performing, because that's where I could let it all out. And when I was 12, I became a member of the Chicago Lyric Opera Ballet and decided ballet was the direction I wanted to take, even though I had done musicals, I had done theater as a child. I had my own small television show on the local CBS, but this was the direction. And that led to a New York City ballet company and joining, being a triple threat in New York on Broadway. So, but making the transition into behind the scenes, so to speak, was not something I had actually anticipated, although one of my early dance teachers said, I always know you're going to re-choreograph everything I do. So I guess that was in the works. So I eventually started choreographing and then directing in theater, and then it led to my coming to Los Angeles to assist Gene Kelly on One from the Heart as a choreographer, and then working with Francis Coppola, which led me into my experience of being in film and television. And it just kind of kept going and going. And I've always been an educator, too. I think it's so important to give back. And I really enjoy teaching in the universities.
One of the things I loved that you mentioned teaching, because one of the things I loved about your Stanley Clarke doc is the fusion of the story of this jazz legend who played in Return to Forever, one of my favorite jazz groups to listen to. But it's also fused with the story of the students and how they're learning from this master. And you even get a little view into the way he teaches when he's going in and giving the notes and helping them. Did your experience as a teacher inform the way you handled those scenes?
Yes, absolutely. Something Stanley says in the documentary is art is the great equalizer. And I so believe that, because there is no boundaries of any type with art. And one of the things I like to say is, let's put art in the hands of children, not guns. So with that documentary, what's fascinating is Broad Stage. I have a class at Santa Monica College that is a documentary class. And Broad Stage came to me and said, can we work with you? And can we bring your students in too? So it was a marriage of Stanley working with the music students and my film and television students working on the documentary with me and some of the other the professional director of photography and a professional editor, and pulling that all together with the students. So it was a real great marriage between both organizations.
That's beautiful. And one of the things in the title of the film, I was calling it the Stanley Clarke documentary because I keep thinking about him, but it's Rhythm and Harmony. And what made you choose Rhythm and Harmony as the name? Because when I think of a bass, I don't always think of I definitely think of rhythm, but I always think of harmony. But now that we were talking about this marriage of all these different people, I think maybe that's where the harmony came from. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, it's kind of, and also the rhythm of life and the harmony of what art, I don't care what art, whether it's film or theater or music, dance, it brings harmony to the world. Artists see the world in a different perspective than most people. And it's I think, our obligation to bring that perspective to our communities, and for the communities to then be able to say, yes, I agree with you, or no, I don't agree with you. It's one of the great gifts we have in this country.
I am with you very much. I think that, the artists can be political and they can have a message, but artists as a group need to be in some ways depoliticized so that the messages and the conversations and the art can get through. And people are smart people. They can decide whether or not they agree or disagree with something. Art evokes emotion, right? Like, I don't watch everything and be like, oh, because they put that on the screen, that's now my opinion,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think the best pieces are the ones that leave you saying, I learned something, or I don't agree with that, but I'm glad I listened to it. That's kind of, and I find in my work that I tend to always look for what's underneath, because so many of us just look at what's on top and it looks all glamorous and wonderful, but what's really underneath? What makes somebody tick? So I have a project I'm working on Pearl Buck, and I've written the script, and she's a fascinating woman. She was a major authoress, and she won the Nobel Prize and the Pulitzer Prize, but she had her only natural child was mentally challenged, and she says in her life, and we put in the script, that if I could have only had one more natural child, I would give all of this up. So I think that tells you a lot about her as a woman and what she really valued, even though she had all these amazing, she changed the laws so that people could adopt interracially. Wow. And she took the money from the Pulitzer Prize and started a foundation that still exists called the Pearl Buck Foundation that saves hundreds of Eurasian and Amerasian children. And it also found the cure for the type of mental challenge her daughter had. And it's called the PKU gene, which is used by doctors in hospitals when a baby is born. So the legacy she's left is spectacular. Besides the fact she's written hundreds of books, always on her own life.
And in terms of how you will enter into her story, is it a comprehensive life story? Is it a slice of a particular era? How do you approach the narrative?
The script is a piece of her life. And she had been a missionary daughter. She was a missionary wife. That marriage did not work. She did have an affair with the leading Chinese poet at the time. He was the Byron of the East. That wasn't done in that time. But that was the relationship that spurred her to be the writer she was. It opened her up both as a woman and as a writer. And then eventually she married her publisher, who was her second husband, and they were real partners. And that's how all the rest of the things came about.
So the story, it's got love, creativity, forbidden romance. There's a lot of really exciting things there. Now, so you mentioned going behind the scenes of things. I haven't seen the full episodes, but I've seen the trailer for The Salon, which is a project you worked on, which I believe has Harry Shearer in it.
It does have Harry Shearer. It was based on a short film that I did called A Couple of White Chicks at the Hairdresser with Harry and Shelley Long, Kate Linder, and James Kyson Lee. And that had been in the Cannes Short Film Corner. It's won a lot of awards at festivals. It is on Tubi now. So I wanted to take it to series, which is something, and at that time the Emmys had a category for digital series. So we kind of went in that direction. And the amazing thing with The Salon is it's multi-generational, multi-ethnic. One of our lead characters is deaf and a brilliant actor. And as the director, there were times I would forget to talk to his translator. I would just talk directly to him, and she would pat me and say, "You need to tell me so I can tell him." But he was so good as an actor that I just gave him direction like I gave everybody else, So it is, and Harry's in it. He plays a ghost who comes back to life and haunts the salon. It's funny. And it's got a lot of humor, but there's also an element of seriousness, even though this salon, the salon is amazing because you have this environment where people will tell their deep, dark secrets to complete strangers. I don't know what it is about a salon, but that's the truth. And so, but in this series, we also dealt with gun legislation. So one of our characters is taking care of his niece, and he finds out there was a shooting at her school, and everything goes up in the air, and he now is adamant that there has to be legislation. And Harry's not too as the ghost, whose salon it was, he's not too happy about that his salon is being used as a town hall for gun legislation. But eventually they all turn around, So it's a really fun environment. The characters are really rich. It's fun to be part of, but it also has a message. So that's kind of what I was saying earlier. I always like to have that message in there.
That's very cool. Now I have to track down the short and the rest of the series. Now, ghosts, you're not a stranger to using ghosts in your stories. Now, I know you're not the writer of Dickens of a Christmas, but I watched with my daughter and my wife. My wife love watching like the Hallmark sort of holiday type of movies, and this definitely has that vibe. Definitely. And we're watching, and boom, Aubrey the ghost just kind of materializes at one point.
I have been fortunate to work with Hallmark. I adore them. I did a project that I wrote the story. It was semi-autobiographical. Called Dream Moms, which aired on Mother's Day 2 years ago. It was in 23, so it ended 2 years ago on Mother's Day. And it was with Tamara Mowry Housley, who's brilliant. And it was about dream moms. It's about two women who raise their families, and they realize that it might not be too late to fulfill the dream they had when they were early on of being on Broadway. And so it's all how the families relate to them, how they relate to their families. how they fulfill their dreams, having put those dreams on hold while they raise their families. So that was my first experience working with Hallmark. I'm looking forward to doing more with them. It was a fabulous experience. Dickens of a Christmas, I know the writer, Catherine Friaday. She had brought me the script. I loved the fact that it was a Christmas movie, but it had a twist. Excuse me. And the twist was that this ghost, it's contemporary, but the ghost comes in and takes our two lead characters into various Dickens stories, and that's where they fall in love, in these separate Dickens stories. And then they come right back into contemporary life and try to make their love story happen in contemporary life. And of course, at the end, it does happen. Everything gets, it's Christmas and everybody's happy. And Ashley Newbrough and Chad Rook are in it. They are just so talented. And so I was very excited that the festival put that in, because it's with the Stanley Project and then this. It's two really good films that I'm very excited about.
That's very cool. Now, in watching them, so one of the things you may not know about myself and my sisters is we were raised in Canada, in Montreal. And so we have like a special, I guess it's like Canadar. We can tell when Canadians and things are made in Canada. And the moment Dickens of a Christmas started, I was like, oh, this feels like home. This feels like it must have a Canadian component. And then at the end of the movie, I noticed there is a Canada component. What's the Canada angle for it? Because we love everything Canadian.
Well, we had a small amount of money, and I had met these producers in Canada, in Calgary, who had done some movies in that budget range, and they did it brilliantly. So I showed Catherine their work, and we said, okay, let's do it. And it was a great experience working with them and working with Calgary. And, and I have some friends up there, so that was exciting. They came to the set. And we found a very good, we had to fulfill all the tax incentives. So we found a very good Canadian director. And that's the movie. It's where it is now.
That's so cool. I love Calgary. I was just there in February. February? No, wait. I was there in September.
And I like Calgary Stampede too. It's fun too.
I went to the Stampede.
And my movie with Hallmark, Dream Moms, we shot in Vancouver.
Oh, that's great.
That was a Vancouver movie. So
that's I love Canada so much. Okay, you've worked with legends, Gene Kelly, Francis Ford. You call him Francis Coppola. I gotta call him Francis Ford Coppola because I only know the official name. You probably. And I'd love to ask you a little bit about dance. My dad, growing up, loves dance and always had us watching movies with great dance numbers in it. And I would love to know, what are some of your favorite dance numbers or dance movies? Gene Kelly, of course, included, but are there any that really have an impact and resonate with you?
Well, all the old Gene Kelly movies for sure. I like some of the Fred Astaire, honestly not as much. I really loved all the Gene. But more recently, La La Land and Smash, and, even the work that's being done on Dancing with the Stars, there's some amazing choreography there. And to imagine that some of these people, even though they're athletes sometimes, they're not dancers, to be able to perform the way they can. Dancing with the Stars is amazing what they are able to put together. So, yeah, those are my more recent ones. Of course, Fosse and Verdon,
That's a cool movie.
Fosse's a great legend, and that movie was also very special. And if you go back further, you've got all that jazz. So
very cool. All right. I don't know where to start when it comes to asking a question about working with Francis Ford Coppola, because my kids are still like too young really to get into his movies. Although he did The Outsiders, right? So The Outsiders is a very big deal to my 14-year-old. The Outsiders is like such a significant. She read the book, she saw the movie, she loves it. What of his movies are your or your favorites, either ones you worked on or just from his whole catalog?
God, that's hard to say because he's got so many. I like some of his smaller, lesser known movies. The Conversation.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. The one with Shirley Knight that was about a woman trying to find herself, and I'm forgetting the title, but that was one of his earlier ones that was smaller and he is, I don't have to say he's a genius. He comes from a classical background. He's got an amazing soul as an artist, and therefore he can understand the psyche of a woman. He can understand the psyche of the various characters he writes and how he develops them and how he helps them to come to life. So I think that for me, it's some of the smaller Outsiders, Rumblefish, and now Outsiders is a musical on Broadway that's doing very well. So that's for me. Yeah, everybody knows Godfather and everybody knows Apocalypse, and I'm not saying they're not brilliant. I'm just saying my soul goes to those projects.
Well, I love that you mentioned that, because in some ways, when you strip out the grandeur of these epics that everyone can agree on, you can find the little small gems that are the filmmaker working without the bells and whistles. I mean, having a conversation with the director of photography, when we were talking about The Conversation, and he says, it's almost not a movie, it's a listen-y, right? Like it's so delicate and so careful the way the story is told that it's fun to see, a master work within those smaller constraints. And then
he did Jack with Robin Williams. That was a really wonderful small piece, and one from the heart, although, it got carried away, but it started off as
is the one you're talking about with Shirley Knight. I just looked it up over here with James Caan and Robert Duvall, The Rain People. Is that possible?
Yes.
That's it? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. I want to make sure that people get the good recommendations on our show. People love listening.
Yeah, that's really important. So, and I'm working on a dance project. It's called The Legacy Robe, and it is based on a true part of the Broadway tradition, which used to be called the Gypsy Robe, and it's been in existence since 1956. I believe Nora Kay was the first person to receive it. And it is an actual robe, and it's got patches of the various shows over the years with the embroidered of the name of the show and the date. And on opening night, the gypsies or the chorus people, and they're called gypsies because we go from show to show to show, or we go from Broadway to tours, I mean, there was a period where I was just subletting because I was never in New York long enough to, and then I finally got an apartment, which I had to have my parents co-sign for, by the way. So that's another issue.
Everyone in my generation had that happen too. So.
But the one we're trying to do, they stand on stage, there's a ritual with the equity deputy, and the ritual is to make the show a success. Everybody else has to leave the theater. And then the robe is handed to the person in the chorus who has done the most Broadway shows. And it sits in that dressing room till the next show opens. So I've got a love story in it. It's about, young people struggling and trying to make it on the Great White Way. And then the older person who's, dancers' lives are over 30 when everybody else's lives are starting, their career lives. So, she's struggling to figure out what her next step is. And so it's this balance between a career that's changing and transitioning and careers that are just starting and trying to make it.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. If I may make a recommendation from a filmmaker I love who I think captures dance beautifully, there's a director-writer named Stacey Malton, and she has a film called Triple Threat, which I was thinking of immediately when you said Triple Threat, that's streaming on Peacock. And I think she's one of the most innovative filmers of music and dance that there is out there. And I actually executive produced a short musical that she worked on later just because I had seen her work and I was like, oh, I want to be involved. So I love the the excitement about music and dance on film. And in terms of Broadway, are you following what's going on now? Like, is there a show that you are dying to see or that you love that you're really taken with? We love Broadway too in our family.
I'm heading to New York tomorrow, and I was dying to see Buena Vista Social Club. Almost everyone there has told me you have to see that. And then there's a show, again, I'm forgetting the name, that won the Tony, and it's about robots. And that one is supposed to, especially with all the AI, I think it's supposed to be absolutely fabulous.
That's really cool.
I usually go back to my contacts in New York and say, what should I see?
Oh, that's good. I have a connection to Buena Vista because my mother's family are all Cubans who left in the 60s. And we went on a family humanitarian mission in the early 2000s. And in the hotel we were at, that night, by coincidence, Compay Segundo of the Buena Vista Social Club was performing. And we went and got to see him perform. And then my mother, in her unstoppable way, worked her way backstage and got to hang out with Compay Segundo and get his autograph.
Oh, my gosh.
She's an
unbelievable.
So, Roxanne, I'm thrilled. I can't wait to meet you in person at Newport Beach. Mention your screening times and anything else you want to recommend before we head out.
We are screening on October 19th at 11 a.m. is the Rhythm and Harmony, the documentary on Stanley Clarke and his residency at Broad Stage. And at 2 p.m., Dickens of a Christmas will screen. And then Dickens is going to be screening again on October 22nd.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
I'm so honored. I was the executive director of the San Francisco International Film Festival for 6 years, and I know how hard it is to put on a festival. And they do a spectacular job. Their crew, their people they're so on top of things. It's been just a joy to be involved with the festival.
I feel the same way. We're thrilled. We're honored. We kind of pinched ourselves when we found out we got in. So we're really thrilled, and we're thrilled to be in such great company. Roxanne Messina-Kaptur, thank you so much for joining the Friday Night Movie family, and wishing you the best of luck with all these awesome projects, and we'll see you soon.
Great.
Bye.
Good to see you. Thank you for the interview, and good luck with your film, too.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Friday Night Movie, the sibling rivalry and pop culture podcast. Join the Friday Night Movie family by following @FryNightMovie on all of the socials and visiting our website, FryNightMovie.com. Our theme song is by What Does It Eat? And make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.